All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. So, hello, my name is Ani Sweeney, and I'm going to be leading today's webinar. I hope everybody's having a great start to the school year, and seriously, I cannot believe that it is already October. It's like, where did the time go? But welcome to Preparing for the Administrative Review webinar. This webinar was specially created for all of the receiving an administrative review this school year. Okay, I wanted to go over some basics first. So we're using the GoToWebinar software. You'll see a menu on the right side of your computer, and you'll be able to ask questions here. So if you have any questions, just click on the drop-down and then enter it, because right now you all are in listen-only mode. So if you have questions, just make sure that you pop them in there. We'll do our best to make sure that we have an answer for you. So I do want to go over our whole entire team here. So I'm Ani Sweeney, the director, or not director, VP, and we have the director of menu review, and this is Laura Lee Hansen. We have our logistics team, which consists of Jordan Minton and Nadia Medias, and we have our resource specialist, resource management specialist, Denise Heignite. So I'm glad to have them here on the team. So if you have any menu-related questions, make sure that you're addressing Laura Lee Hansen. If you have the resource management questions, you're contacting Denise. And if you have any other questions, you can contact Jordan, Nadia, or myself. All right, so what is the administrative review? The administrative review is the new USDA review process that replaces both the old CRE and the SMI. The administrative review was introduced with the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. This first year, this review was implemented was 2013-2014 school year. So this is the third year of having the administrative review. And this year is actually the last year in the first 3-year cycle of the reviews. So moving forward, it is very important to forget the old ways of the CRE and the SMI and totally embrace the change. There are many similarities with the reviews. However, it is a different review, and it's important to make sure that everyone is aware and comfortable with the new review process. And this is one of the main reasons why we wanted to host these webinars. So again, the administrative reviews are completed on a 3-year cycle, and the CREs were completed on a 5-year cycle. So this increases our opportunity to visit you and offer technical assistance and support. In the long run, having more frequent reviews will hopefully result in a decrease in the review findings and create a much more effectively run child nutrition program. There are 4 main focus areas of the administrative review. The first one is the Performance Standard 1. This focuses on the meal eligibility and counting and claiming. I like to think of this as the behind-the-scenes paperwork standard, since this is where we go through a lot of the meal benefit applications, direct certification, and the claims, which is the majority of the behind-the-scenes paperwork. The second area is the Performance Standard 2. This standard focuses on the meal quality, menu components, serving sizes, and nutritional quality. I like to consider this the observational standard. We'll actually look at the meal, and we'll get a lot of feedback from the meal service. We'll look at the meal being prepared and the meal being served when we come on site. And we'll look at the portion sizes, and we'll just make sure that you have complete meals. The next section of the review is the Resource Management Comprehensive Review. This is the part of the review that takes an in-depth look at the financial aspects of the program. The comprehensive review is not required for all the administrative reviews. Whether or not you need the full comprehensive review will depend on the financial assessment tool that you fill out online. So as of now, you should have received the website, an individualized login and password earlier this week for you to be able to complete the resource management tool as well as the off-site assessment tool. If your school district is having any trouble with this at all, please contact Jordan or Nadia, and they would be happy to help you with this. And as always, the specific resource management questions should always go to Denise. If the comprehensive review is required, Denise will work with you one-on-one to make sure that she has everything that is needed to complete this review. The last area is the general areas. So this covers anything that was not previously stated, and it's kind of like a catch-all for all of the other areas of the program. So this will include food safety, water availability, civil rights, the local wellness policy, monitoring reviews, the professional standards, and the smart snacks. So even though these items are categorized as a general area, we will still provide technical assistance and corrective action if needed. So they are just as important as all of the other areas. The Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act also brought along some major changes to the meal pattern for the breakfast and the lunch programs. The administrative reviews the meal pattern through an in-depth menu review that is completed prior to the on-site visits, as well as the meal observation on the day of review. And we'll get into a lot more detail later on during this presentation. Okay, the first step, notification of the review. So this first step is us notifying you that you are up for review. At this point, we have reached out to each and every one of you, and we have finalized your review date. So as of this week, you should have received your official notification letter, as well as a secondary email that was sent out pretty much right after that has the checklist of items that are needed and the review due dates for the off-site assessment tool, resource management tool, and for the menu documentation. And as a friendly reminder, the off-site assessment tool and the resource management tool are being filled out online this year. So you can visit the website, just log on and answer all of the questions here. Okay, for step 2. So how do we actually schedule the review? So many people wonder how long we're actually going to be on site and how many and which sites will we visit. So this is based on the USDA guidance and the number of schools you have in your school district. For example, if you have only 1 to 5 schools, we're only going to visit one site, and so on. So this follows the USDA criteria for the number of sites to visit. And then actually, Wisconsin DPI, they actually select the school that we are going to be reviewing. So most of you will have a quick one-day review, and we will work with you closer to your actual review date to determine the actual time that we're going to arrive on site. But typically we arrive just before breakfast just to get settled, and we'll stay through the entire day. So our goal is really to not leave very much after your normal end of day. The pre-review procedures. So there are a few things that need to be done before we get on site. For everyone, there are the pre-review documents that we collect. The first one is the off-site assessment tool, which is again is completed online. And this is a USDA tool that asks general questions so we have a really good understanding of how you operate your programs before we actually get on site. And this is a great tool because it helps us prepare for the review, and it'll let us know if there's any specific resource that we should have ready so we can provide the best technical assistance possible. So make sure that you have your team together to answer all of the questions for the off-site assessment tool, and make sure that everything's filled out as thoroughly as possible. The next part is the financial assessment tool, and again, this is the one that's filled out online. So originally, this was part of the off-site assessment tool, but we pulled this out to make sure that we get this portion of the review answered and back to us as quickly as possible. So this is mainly because we need to have this done 4 weeks prior to the on-site review. So if this is not actually back to us in review, then we're required to do the full comprehensive review that was mentioned before, and this is regardless of your answers. So it's to your benefit and to ours to answer these questions in a timely manner. And our due date set for you of October 12th was selected to ensure that this portion is completed before the 4-week deadline. So if your review is not in November and it's actually at a later point, your dates and everything will be sent to you in your specific letters and emails that will probably be sent out next month or sometime after. All right, lastly, there's the menu review documentation that's needed. This is a huge part of the pre-review documents that are required. And we're just really going to streamline what you're going to be submitting to us. So we've asked so far for your menus and then for your production records. From this, our menu review team, they're going to create a personalized information request form to ask for specific labels, recipes, CN labels needed for the week of review. So once this information is compiled and it's actually sent back to you, then we can complete the menu review process. So it's important to get these things back to us as quickly as possible. You can start today after the phone call and collect and prepare now, so once you've received that personalized information request form, you don't actually have to start from scratch. Okay, so let's get into the off-site assessment in a little bit more detail. So it's important for everybody to work as a team. This tool reviews all areas of the child nutrition programs, and it's critical to make sure that you have all of your key players answering the questions. It's very important that all of these questions are answered as thoroughly and as accurately as possible. So really, the more information that you can give us, the better understanding we'll have of your district and how you operate. And this will really help cut down on the questions that we ask when we're on site. So if you have any questions, feel free to call any of us at any point. We are more than happy to help you work any question out. So email, call, whatever you need to do. And honestly, if we need to set up a time to have a conference call so we can answer the questions one by one, we can do that as well. So it's very important for us to have everything back on time. And I know that I'm stressing this, but this is just really to make sure that we can have everything completed on time. And make sure that once you're completing everything online that you're uploading all of the supporting documents. And again, this will reduce the number of items that we have to ask for when we are on site. All right, so getting into the menu documentation portion of the review. So we select 1 week for the menu review. So for those of you with reviews in November, your review month is October. And we've selected 1 week, that is October 5th to the 9th, unless we have personally talked to you and selected another week. If your review is later in the year, you will be notified of your specific week at a later point that's a little bit closer to your review. So if you are not in school for the entire week of October 5th to the 9th for our November reviews, please let me know as soon as possible and we'll work out a different week for you. Okay, so next is what menus are reviewed. So we'll look at all of the unique menus that you have at your review site. So for example, if we're coming out to visit an elementary school of yours that's K-5, and you have one breakfast menu and everybody receives the same food, then we'll look at the K-5 breakfast menu. Then for lunch, if you serve a different menu for your students' grades K-3 and then the different menu for your grades 4 and 5, we'll need to see both the K-3 and the 4-5 menus for lunch. Okay, so your next question is probably, what menu documents do I need to submit? So going over this again and using the exact same example, we'll need all of the planned production records for all of your menus. As mentioned before, this is how we create your specific information request form, which lists exactly what we need for the menu review. This will include the nutrition labels, the standardized recipes, CN labels, or product formulation statements from the manufacturer. And our goal is to have this personalized list back to you within 5 business days after receiving your production records with the projected numbers. Step number 4 for the on-site. So now that we've gone through all of the pre-review requirements, I know this is a lot of information to take in. We've been doing these reviews for a number of years now, and it's really, really important for you to know that the more information that we have up front, the better. It's really going to save you a lot of time and stress in the long run. So again, really feel free to ask us any questions or if you have any concerns. We're here for you throughout the entire review process. All right, so getting back to the on-site review. For the SFA level, we're going to be looking at your meal benefit applications. We're going to go through verification, and I'll go into a little bit more detail in just a bit. We're going to be looking at your claims, going through resource management, civil rights, your local wellness policy. We're looking at smart snacks, professional standards, which is new. That's why I have the stars by them. We'll look at your food safety plan, the record keeping, the school breakfast program, and summer food service program outreach, which is required even if you do not have those programs. And then also, if you are a school district that uses a food service management company, then we have a few extra questions that follow up with that. Okay, for the site level, we look at the point of service for the meals. We want to make sure that all of the meal components are available for your breakfast or your lunch. We'll check to see if offer versus serve is implemented correctly if you're using offer versus serve. We'll do a kitchen walkthrough that will include food safety, again, civil rights. If you are a multi-site school district, we'll check for your on-site monitoring reviews. Now, most of you are single site, so this will be an A for you. Also, smart snacks, making sure that water is available during your meals, and then, of course, the record keeping. All right, so certification and benefit issuance. This is a large part of the review, so we're going to get into a little bit more detail here. So we always need the benefit issuance list that has the students listed for the entire SFA, not just the site that is selected. So when you first sit down to start pulling materials for this review, make sure that your list is for the entire district and not just for the site. And for you single sites, this is just everybody that you have. So this list should have a total number of eligible students in the SFA, and you want to identify which ones were selected for verification. Make sure that the list comes from your actual point of service, so making sure that this is up to date. And make sure that the names that are, they're just not duplicated in the list. This list should include all of your students that are eligible for your free or your reduced price meals, and you should not include your paid students. This list should include each student's name, the school that he or she attends, the benefit status of free or reduced, the method of certification, and by this I mean we want to know if they were provided the benefits through a meal benefit application, if they were directly certified, if you've extended eligibility to them, or if the student is categorically eligible, such as homeless, migrant, or runaway. So pretty much we'll just need to see and know which documents to refer back to. So 1 to 2 weeks prior to the on-site review date, we're going to send you an email reminding you to prepare your benefit issuance list and collect all of the documents. If your benefit issuance list of your free and reduced students is less than 100 students, or 100 students or less, we're going to look at all 100 names on that list. So make sure you have all the supporting documentation organized in some way. For the meal benefit applications, make sure that these applications are in the same order as the benefit issuance list. Let me tell you, there is nothing worse than going in, seeing the list, and then having a jumbled pile of the meal benefit applications. And yes, we'll make it happen, but it's just going to take 10 times longer. So having them in some the exact same order will help the on-site reviewer move quickly through all the applications because this does take up so much time. If you have students that are on the direct certification list, your homeless list, your migrant list, just make sure that you have those lists ready. So if your free and reduced list is over 100 students, we're going to tell you how many and which names you need to select. So the number of names is determined using the USDA Statistical Sample Generator tool, and this is available online. But you don't need to worry about this because we're going to figure this out for you, and we're going to let you know beforehand. Just make sure that everything's organized and it's easy for us to navigate through. So again, applications are district-wide. It is not specific. And also, we're going to be checking out just a few of your denied applications. So once we send you this email, if you have any questions about what you're supposed to be pulling together, just give me a call and I'd be happy to walk you through this. All right, so let's get a little bit more into the meal benefit applications. So for the income applications, these applications need to have the household members, and everybody should be listed. All of the income and the frequency must be listed for each household member, and this includes students, so not just adults. There needs to be an indication of no income for those that don't have any. There needs to be a signature for the adult household member, and the last 4 digits of their Social Security number. And this is something new, and Wisconsin just sent out an email recently with this new requirement, and the total number of people in the household needs to be listed. So for any of these items that I've just mentioned, if they are not complete, the application is going to be considered incomplete, and you must follow up with the household. So if you make any phone calls or contacts with the household, just make sure that you're documenting somewhere on the app that you've made an addition or correction to it. All right, so for our SNAP applications or TANF or FDPIR, we need the case number and we need a signature of the adult in that household. So easy enough. So for our foster students, there's actually 2 different ways that they can be certified. So the first one is to have an approved application on file, and the second one is to have an approved documentation provided to you from the county indicating that they are indeed a foster child. All right, so for categorically eligible students, there must be an approved list. So this could be a homeless list, migrant, runaway, Head Start, or Even Start. Just make sure to have the date they were added to the list. And last but not least, they could also be on the direct certification list. Students can also be extended eligibility through the direct certification report. So please take note here. If a single student is on the direct certification report and any other students in the household are also present, they are entitled to the same free meal benefits as a student on the direct cert list. Make sure that this is documented. You can document this really any which way you like. So you can write directly on the direct certification list who you've extended the eligibility to, and just put your initials and put a date that you've done this. Or you could keep a separate list and make sure that all of that information is on the list. All right, moving on to verification. So we will be reviewing all of the verification documentation. So for those of you with the November reviews, we're coming out just after verification should be completed. So make sure that you have all of this information out so it can be easily reviewed. So we'll look at all of the applications that you've pulled to ensure that the correct number of applications were reviewed, but a detailed review will only be completed for 10% of the verified applications. So we'll look at the initial application, the notification letters that were sent to the household, the verification documents that were submitted by the household, and the notification results letter sent to the household. We'll need to see a summary of your verification efforts, And this is a report that the SFA is required to maintain each year, but you're not required to submit this to the state. And really, it's just a simple summary of how you complete verification. And we'll review this on site just to get a really good idea of your entire verification process. For those of you that are CEP, we're going to go over what's required of you. So if your entire SFA participates in CEP, the only thing we need is your student enrollment list from the base year and direct certification list used from your base year. So for example, if your base year is 2014-2015, we'll need the list from April 1st, 2015. We'll use those two documents to verify your claiming percentages. If only some of your sites participate in CEP and the others are standard claiming, we'll look at both the CEP sites and the standard sites. So for the CEP sites, we'll look at your student enrollment list from the base year and the direct certification list from the base year. For the standard sites, we'll need to look at everything just as if you are a standard claiming. So this will include the benefit issuance list from the review month for the site, the meal benefit applications, direct cert list, and categorically eligible list. I think that we have one or two provision schools here. So if you are operating provision 2, this is what you'll need to have. So if this is a non-base year, the only things you need are your student enrollment list from your base year, the applications DC eligibility list from your base year, and your state agency approved claiming percentage for each site. So if this is your base year, we are going to look at everything as if you were standard claiming. So this includes the benefit issuance list from the review month, your meal benefit applications, DC list, and categorically eligible list. So claims for reimbursement. Once the benefit issuance list has been completed, we're going to start moving on and looking at your claim. We're going to look at the review month claim for each site. Please make sure that this is available. And in Wisconsin, you are required to submit a consolidated claim. However, we are going to need to see the breakdown for each site that you have and the entire consolidated numbers that you put into the claim system. So make sure that you print out your edit checks for every single site so we can see each one to make sure that you've consolidated everything correctly. So again, this is for all of your sites and not just the sites selected for the review. When we're at the point of service, we're going to be looking at the students going through the line. So we're going to be asking ourselves a number of questions. All right, so does your system avoid avert identification? If we see anything, we're going to let you know as soon as possible, and we're going to provide the technical assistance required so you're on the right track right away. We're also going to ask, does it provide an accurate meal count? How are the meals consolidated at the end of the service? And this is important if you have more than one serving line. How are the meals consolidated to make sure that there's an accurate claim? So we'll check on this and we'll just make sure that everything is okay. And lastly, we want to make sure that the students are not going to be claimed more than once. So if a kid goes through the line and they receive a meal, making sure that they just can't go to another line and pick up another meal. Okay, for meal compliance. Let's start out with production records. These records are very important. So are they complete? When we get there, make sure that everybody is on top of these records. So were all records complete and all components served every day? We'll look to make sure that every component is present, the grains, the meat alternates, your vegetables, your fruits, and your milk. And we also want to make sure that if you are serving a hamburger and you offer ketchup and mustard and relish, that you include all of those condiments on your production record. One thing that we commonly see, if you're serving, let's just say 3 different types of milk, we want to make sure that each of those types has their own line. We also check your portion sizes to make sure that they're accurate. Make sure that everything is filled out as completely as possible. So please know that there is a difference between 1 each and 1 cup. So again, be specific. This way we know that you're serving a complete meal and the right amount for each grade group that you're serving. All right, so what is actually required on the production record? So we obviously need to know all of the food. We need to know the component that it's satisfying. We want to know the recipe or the food product that's being used. We want to see the planned projected numbers of proportions and the portion sizes for the students. Make sure to include the planned projected number of portions and the portion size for the adults as well. And lastly, include the total amount of food prepared. So these production records as your live working documents to show what and how much food you're preparing. It should be filled out continuously throughout the day. The actual number of servings used should be entered for the students and then also for the adults at the end of the meal. And make sure to list the amount of the leftovers or any of the substitutions that you make throughout the day. So really, this is just the beginning. You can include other items on the production record to make it work the best for your school district. Meal preparation and observation. We're going to do a quick walkthrough through your kitchen, and generally we'll do this just right before lunch. And we know that you are busy folks and you'll be running around the kitchen, so we're going to stay out of the way as best as we can. This walkthrough is mainly just to check on the food safety. We want to make sure that you're following your standardized recipes. You spend so much time writing them, so we want to make sure that you're following them. We check to make sure that you have the correct measuring tools and you're taking the temperatures of the food. Okay, so once lunch starts, our goal is to see as many meals as we can. And to do this, we'll actually need to stand close to the cashiers. So we'll go up, we'll introduce ourselves, just let them know that our main goal is to see the majority of the meals. So we're going to be asking ourselves, all right, so are all of the portion sizes okay? Are they taking a reimbursable meal? Are the cashiers identifying a reimbursable meal? If you're implementing offer versus serve, is it implemented correctly? If a student doesn't have a complete meal, is the cashier reminding the student to go take an additional item and encouraging them to do that, or if they're being charged a la carte? And lastly, we're going to make sure that you have all of the required signage that identifies what a reimbursable meal is. So the main goal of that is for the students to be able to have a sign, and they'll be able to know what constitutes a reimbursable lunch or breakfast for them. They know exactly what they need to take. All right, so moving on to resource management. All right, so everybody fills out the financial assessment tool, and this determines if the comprehensive review is actually needed. So as a reminder, this is not a penalty or a punishment to have the comprehensive review. This is very normal, and it's just a more in-depth look at all of your finances. So for those of you who do flag for the full comprehensive review, this is a list of the items that we're going to be looking at. So we'll check out any of the past audits, your nonprofit school food service account, your paid lunch equity tool, revenue from non-program foods tool, and any indirect costs, and possibly your USDA foods. So if you flag, Denise Ignite will contact you before you review to make sure that she has all of the correct information that she needs and will provide technical assistance in any and all areas. So for anything that has to do with the resource management part of the review, we strongly encourage you to reach out to your business manager or the equivalent in your school district to make sure that everything is filled out correctly, using them as your best resource. And also make sure that they're present for any of the conversations that you have with Denise, because they're going to be able to best answer those questions. So I've put up here 2 tools that you can reference that will help you along with this. Okay, so going on to civil rights compliance. So what do you actually need to do for this portion of the review? So the first requirement is for the SFA to do a public release, and this is the announcement to the public that you are part of the Federal Child Nutrition Program. What are your procedures for receiving and handling civil rights complaints, if there are any? And this should be a written procedure and maintained by your school district. We look at information on the number and the description of any complaints if they do come in. And please take note here, this is something that you can do beforehand to make sure that you are ready and good to go. So have all of your civil rights training completed and all of the documents ready for review. This would include the date of your civil rights training, the agenda that you followed, a sign-in sheet of the attendees for the training. So if you have not completed this review by the time we've gotten out there, just make sure that it's done soon after. We also want to know if there are any needs in the availability of translation services in your district. And we'll need a description of how you collect the racial and ethnic data for your school district. We'll also check to make sure that the non-discrimination statement is on all of the required materials that are related to the child nutrition programs that go out to the public. And please note that the abbreviated non-discrimination statement, this can be used, but it can only be used when there's very limited space available. And lastly, when we're on site, we're going to check for that 11 by 17 and Justice for All poster. And this should be where all of your customers can actually see the poster. All right, so for our multi-site school districts, this is only required for you. So if you're a single site, this is not required. So we'll look to make sure that these on-site self-monitoring reviews are completed. And they are due February 1st of each year, but might as well just get them done, get it off your to-do list. But it is okay to not have them done because we're coming out for a lot of you before February 1st. And here is a link. So if you need a template view, you can always check this out. You can always find other ones online. Just do a quick Google search for it. Okay, so let's get into the wellness policy here. So we're going to go over the minimum requirements for your wellness policy, and they are, we want to see goals for nutrition education, so important, goals for physical activity, goals for any other school-based activities that promote wellness, your nutritional guidelines for all of the food sold on campus, and goals for nutrition promotion. The wellness policy should be developed by a team that includes at least your teachers, your food service staff, parents, administration, and your students. So these are some new-ish things that came about with reauthorization. And SFAs are required to make the wellness policy publicly available, and you can put this directly on your website. SFAs must periodically measure the implementation of their policy, and you need to fill out a wellness policy assessment tool, and this can be checked on site. This will be checked on site. And lastly, the SFA must designate one or more school officials to ensure compliance with your wellness policy. So we're going to be checking all of these things once we come on site. Okay, so make sure that you are able to answer, how is the public informed? When and how is the policy reviewed and updated? Again, we recommend annually. Who is involved with the policy? And how can stakeholders participate? So what roles do they have in your wellness policy? Who are the key players here? Okay, so smart snacks. And this is a newer portion of the review. And this includes all food and beverages that are sold on school campus that are not part of the National School Lunch Program or the school breakfast programs. And there are a ton of great resources that are available online, so I strongly recommend that you check out these resources prior to the review. So the first one is the USDA website that provides some detailed information about the smart snacks and the items that are approved for each grade group. And this is just really a good informative site that I would definitely go visit and check out. The next one is for the Smart Snack Calculator. This is a great tool to use to check to see if your packaged items meet the Smart Snack requirements. So if you do have a product that passes, print out the calculator results and keep this on file. So all foods and beverages on the school campus must meet the Smart Snack requirements, and even if they are not your specific food service foods. So work with your school administration to make sure that all items sold do meet the requirements. And what we found is that some food service managers, they like to keep all of those printouts from the calculator in their hot little hands to ensure that their schools are all in compliance. Okay, and lastly, the Healthier Generation website is listed here, and this provides a good list of products. So if you're wondering what can you serve, this is a great one to check out. All right, a little bit more here with the Smart Snacks. So what do we look at when we're on site? So we want to see copies of all the food sale policies within your school district. We want to see the process for determining the non-program packaged foods, and how are you determining if the food items meet the Smart Snack requirements. We'll look at all areas in the review site where food and beverages are sold during the day and who's responsible for the food. And this could include some of your booster clubs or your pop-up shops that come out, during the day. And again, we want to check out those labels for all of the items sold, so keep those on file. And then the printouts from that calculator can be kept with all of these labels. And lastly, we're going to look at the fundraisers that are held by the school district for the current school year. So this would also include some of the future fundraisers that you're going to be having. Professional standards. Now this is brand new for this school year. So please spend some time and review the professional standards in great detail on the USDA website before, or actually really as soon as possible. The professional standards for the school nutrition professionals is a key provision of the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. And this rule was published on March 2nd, 2015, and requires a minimum amount of annual training hours for all employees. This also requires specific training topic areas that will vary according to the position and the job requirements. And lastly, there are also the minimum hiring standards for all new staff. So definitely check this out and look at all the details for all of your employees. All right, so let's get into the documents to prepare. So this list here is the documents to have ready. So we need to see the list of all food service employees, their titles. We want to know if they are full-time or part-time, and we want to know the date that they were hired. And we'll also need to look at the trainings that were held for the food service staff, the agendas, and the date of the past or the future trainings. And we also wanted to know the length of the training and those that were attending. And lastly, the SFA, you all should have a way of tracking the hours for all of your employees, and a template is actually available online, so check it out. And here's the link, but you can always do a Google search for this. Okay, water availability. Water must be available to everybody during breakfast and lunch, and we're just going to make sure that potable water is available. And your school can provide water in a number of different ways. You could have a pitcher with cups on the tables, if you have a water fountain that's not restricted to the kids, and your schools could have just water dispensers with cups next to them, those big orange containers that are used for sports. Those are fine too. Okay, let's get into some food safety. This is so important. So besides feeding kids, we want to make sure that the food is actually safe to eat. Have copies of your most recent health inspection report available. We're going to look at the most recent two. We're going to look at all of your temperature logs for your freezers, your refrigerators, and your storerooms. So a lot of general food safety here. We'll also make sure that temperatures are being taken by your staff for your hot and your cold food items. And we're going to look at your food safety plan. And this should be used by the employees. And really, how good is a food safety plan if you can't even access it? Okay, so we're going to make sure that there is no food that's stored on the floor. We're going to look at temperature logs for your storage areas, how you're cleaning and washing all of your dishes. So using your 3-compartment sink, or if you have a washer, checking out some storage, proper hygiene, wash those hands, checking out for cross-contamination, and your food prep areas, and making sure that there's no evidence of those little pests. All right, so in addition to your breakfast and lunch program, we're also going to review the after-school snack program to make sure that you are offering the correct components and you're taking the point of sale. If you have the fresh fruit and vegetable program, great. We're going to look at what you're planning on serving and the claims for reimbursement. If you have the special milk program and or the Wisconsin School Day milk program, we're going to be looking at all of the paperwork for that. And lastly, for the seamless summer option, we're going to be looking at meal counting and claiming practices, your menu planning, and your meal service. Okay, step number 5. We're almost there, folks. Okay, so what happens after the review? You actually get to take a breather, and you're happy that we're gone. We're going to provide you with a summary of all of the commendations and suggestions that we have for your program to make it even better. We're going to come up with a list of technical assistance that we provided on site and any of the corrective actions that we have for you. We're going to send you this, and we're going to give you specific instructions on what you need to do for any of those potential findings, and we hope that there are none, but we'll let you know exactly what needs to be done to bring each area into compliance. So if there's any potential fiscal action, we'll notify you, and we'll make sure that you're provided with appeal procedures, and know that Wisconsin DPI will always be in the loop, and they'll have the final say for any of the potential fiscal action. All right, so how can you have a great review? Our goal is for you to have the best review possible. Like, we want you to feel informed and inspired to have top-notch programs when we leave. So to do this, you need to work together as a team, have everybody involved, and provide trainings to your staff to make sure that they are comfortable with what we're doing. And please do not do this alone. So you want to have everything as organized as possible. So determine how you can organize everything. We find that people that prepare binders and folders or just some kind of organized, pile is the best for us to get through everything in an efficient way. So really over-prepare, double and triple check everything. Really, you should feel confident and ready for your review by the time we come out. Okay, so this is overwhelming, and I've actually been through this process and have been in your shoes before. Please know that many of the on-site reviewers have actually been in your shoes and know what it's like to go through the review, and it is very intense and it's hard, but we're here to try to make this as easy for you as we can. So start early. Start now. So after this, start getting ready. If you still have questions, and even if you think that they're small, silly ones, please ask away. Make sure that you're submitting everything on time and be responsive. Keep these lines of communication open with us. And I can't stress this enough, but really work together to get everything done. You cannot wake up the morning of the review and have a good day. This is not going to work. I know you're busy, but it's just you need to start preparing now. So stay up to date with your trainings. Check out the DPI website and really use them as your resource. I heard my coworker say this, and I really liked it. Please use CN Resource as your resource, so please contact us. Do not ever hesitate to ask us questions. So we are out of time, so please make sure that you answer your questions here. So just put them on the sidebar. We'll make sure that they are all answered. So I hope you all have a great day, and I'm just going to leave this open for a little bit longer just so you can make sure you put your questions in here. All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks.